Welcome to FailCraft, the podcast where we dive into the messy, real side of success and explore how setbacks become the stepping stones to growth and clarity. I'm your host, Ezekiel Iferia, and today's guest is Lynnette Fritshaw. She's a retired firefighter who broke barriers as the first and only female career firefighter in her hometown. To the outside world, she was a pioneer and a hero, but behind the station doors, she was fighting a war that had nothing to do with fire. She faced bullying, misogyny, and toxic leadership that stripped away her identity. She eventually had to make the agonizing choice to walk away from the job she loved to save her own life. She's here to talk about the difference between a secret and a story, why survival mode is actually a trap, and how she rebuilt herself after the system tried to break her. So, Lynette, it's a pleasure to welcome you to Fieldcraft. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It is an absolute honor to be here.
Great to have you here. So let's get started. You spent nearly 2 decades running into burning buildings, but you say that the real damage didn't come from the fire. It came from the people standing next to you. You also have a book titled You Are on Your Own. So was there a specific moment, maybe a shift or a conversation where you looked around the station and realized, I am truly alone?
There is a very specific conversation that happened, which is the reason for the title of the book. It was my very first day on the job in the career side, and a captain took me aside. He closed the window and he closed the door into a private room, and he said, "You must be so excited. You did it. You landed your dream job. But there's something you need to know. We've all been in conversation, and we're all in agreement that if you get yourself into any kind of trouble, we're not coming to save you. You're on your own."
Oh, wow, wow, wow. Thank you very much for sharing that with us, Lynette. So you were the first and only female firefighter there. So did you feel a pressure to, never show weakness because you were representing women? And also, did that pressure make you stay silent when you should have spoken up?
There was immense pressure, and I actually made a promise to them that I would never be that girl that caused any trouble. When I got hired, there was a couple of women it was a faraway department, but they were in lawsuits. They were suing the department. They were suing members for the harassment and the things that they had been through. And it had been brought to my attention that when you hire a female, it just brings nothing but trouble. And so I made a promise to them that I would never be that girl. I would never cause them trouble. I would never, sue them. I would never go after them. I just wanted to be there to do the job, and I would prove to them that a woman could be there and not cause any problems. So that gave them basically a free ticket to do whatever they wanted, to say whatever they wanted, and knowing that I wouldn't do anything about it.
Okay. So, Lynette, you talk about the trauma of leadership. So I'd like to know, is the betrayal, or for example, by a boss or maybe a teammate or a coworker, harder to heal from than seeing a tragedy on the job? Like, firefighters they're expected to see, tragic events like destructions of buildings or even deaths. So I'd like to know, which is harder for you to overcome? Is it those traumatic events or PTSD or maybe the betrayal by someone you work with or someone close to you?
I always had very healthy coping mechanisms put into place for the job because I knew that I would see things and do things that are hard to comprehend. They are way abnormal. And so I always made sure that I had things in place to take care of myself mentally, emotionally. I was very physically active, so I was in really good shape. And so I never had any issues when it came to seeing things and doing things. I would immediately start journaling. I would go to my counseling appointments. I would make sure that I took care of my mental health. But what I didn't have in place was any healthy coping mechanisms for the betrayal trauma, for the toxic leadership, for the things that I endured with the harassment, the bullying, the misogyny. I didn't have anything in place because I didn't look at them as part of the job. It was just normal. I considered it normal behavior, and I deemed it as normal so that I could get through each day and try to work alongside them and try to be a sister in the Brotherhood. So I never even took into consideration that those experiences with them were traumatic, because in order to survive, I just deemed them as normal. I allowed the behavior to happen. I allowed the treatment. And so that became their normal way of treating me as well. And when I finally realized that all of the things that I was suffering from weren't actually to do with the job, that was a huge eye-opener for me. Because for well over a decade, I had stayed silent. I had kept secrets to keep others comfortable. I didn't say anything. I just did my job. I tried to prove myself every single day. I tried to show that I was worthy. I tried to prove I was good enough. I tried to prove that I deserved to be there, and it was exhausting. And one day it just kind of clicked, and I was like, this is trauma. This is actually trauma that I have been experiencing and suffering from without even realizing it.
So, you operated in survival mode for years. So, what does that actually feel like physically? So, were you constantly waiting for the next attack, maybe even when you were at home?
Yes, I was so tense. I was hypervigilant. I was looking for threat at every angle. I was always hypersensitive. I was go, go, go. I was a workaholic. I was trying to keep myself busy so that I didn't have to think about what was actually happening. And I was in full burnout. I was exhausted. My body was in so much pain. Even though I was extremely physically active and very fit, I was in excruciating pain all the time, and I had no idea why. I tried all the modalities of massage and chiropractor and acupuncture and everything to try to get my body to behave, and it just wouldn't, because it was actually holding on to all of the emotions that I had suppressed, all of the trauma that I had suppressed, all of the experiences with them that I had suppressed. I had never talked about it other than with my mom. I had never talked to anybody about it. I barely talked to my counselor about those things because I just kept it a secret, and I lived a facade, and I was suffering immensely. And it did lead to CPTSD, which is complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and it is compounding traumatic experiences over a long period of time that I just didn't deal with. I just kept pushing them in, pushing them down. And then all of a sudden it just came to a head, and I was like, I am actually very injured. I am psychologically very injured. I am a control freak. I'm functioning in a trauma response. I'm a people pleaser. I'm procrastinating. I'm doing all of the things to try to survive on a daily basis. And my well-being was minimal. Like, I was barely surviving.
Okay. So you eventually left the career. So, Lynette, did that feel like a failure at that time, or did you feel like you were letting the bullies win, or did you realize it was a victory for your sanity?
It was a victory for me. I left there on my terms. I didn't leave there because I had to. I didn't leave there because of the injuries from the job. I had a very successful career. I chose to take an early retirement in 2023 so that I could tell my story, because I couldn't tell the truth and tell my story about what really went on there if I was still employed. So I made the difficult decision to leave the career that I loved so that I could actually tell the truth for the first time in my life about what I had experienced and what I had went through, in hopes that it could help or impact one person who was going through something similar or who could relate to my story. But I did it for me. I needed to be able to tell the truth and unpack all of that secrets, all of the things that I had carried that weren't mine. I needed to unpack them. And writing this book was therapy times 1,000. It was the best gift I ever gave myself. And the impact that it has made on people and the responses that I have got in relation to the book, it's 10 times what I would have ever expected. It's been incredible.
Right, all right. So you say this particular phrase, you don't have a secret, you have a story. So how did you make the transition from hiding what happened to writing a book about it?
It was a lot of different modalities of healing that I had to go through, but hypnotherapy was actually the changing piece for me. It was the most life-changing. It had the biggest impact. It got me right to the actual root cause of the things that I was holding on to break through those barriers that I was keeping secrets through. Like I couldn't get through them on my own. And with hypnotherapy was the first time that I had ever told anyone, the hypnotherapist who I didn't even know, my deepest secrets. And to be able to free myself from those was what changed everything.
Right, all right. So for the listener right now who perhaps is in a toxic workplace, maybe they are being bullied or undermined and they are afraid to leave. So what's the first step they need to take to protect their peace?
They have to speak their truth. If they're too afraid to leave, I mean, we have to choose our hard. So it's really hard to stay, but it's really hard to go. But you have to put yourself first. I didn't put myself first for most of my life. And that is my biggest regret, was that I didn't do it sooner, that I didn't have the courage to speak my truth. Because nobody gets to own your story except for you. Just like you said earlier, you don't have a secret, you have a story. And every single one of us has a story. And nobody gets to judge it. Nobody gets to have an opinion on it because it's yours. And when I wrote the book, there were some people that were very worried about if I named names or but it wasn't about them. It was about me. It was about my story. And I had the opportunity to share my story. And I said, if they wanted to talk to, they could write a book too. Every single person has a story, and you have the right to be able to speak your truth. And I'll tell you, it is the most freeing thing you will ever do. It is the best gift you will ever give yourself. And something else to take into consideration for anybody listening who is in that type of environment and wanting to heal or is trying to heal and it's just not happening. You can't heal in the place that broke you. You can't continue to give yourself all of those pieces, but then continually put yourself in the space with the people, places, or things that broke you. You have to remove yourself from the toxicity, and you do get to choose. At somewhere along the way, somebody maybe told you that you don't have a choice, you're not good enough, you're not worthy. You do have a choice. You get to choose. You get to choose you. Maybe for the first time in your life, like me, you get to choose you and give that to yourself because nobody gets a say. And so speak your truth, tell your story, stand in your power. If you've given it away somewhere along the way or it's been taken from you, it's yours. Take it back. Stand in your truth, stand in your power.
So, Lynnette, after fighting the fire within and reclaiming your voice, I'd like to know right now, what does being successful truly mean to you?
Putting myself first. That was the best success. I can do hard things. You tell me I can't do something, I will find a way to make it happen. I will do all of the things, the external things, but it wasn't like for me. Putting myself first was the biggest success. Speaking my truth and telling my story has been the most success because there's so many people that are like me too. Like I can relate to so many pieces of your story and I thought I was alone. So that has been my biggest success, is taking what should have broke me, taking my pain and turning it into a purpose.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us. So, finally, for our listeners who want to go read your memoir or connect with your coach, maybe even follow you online. So where is the best place for them to go?
Well, you can grab my book, which is You're on Your Own. It's available on Amazon. It's coming out on Audible, hopefully by the end of the month. I just finished recording it, so maybe by the end of January, I'm hoping to have it out on Audible as well. You can find me on Instagram at Fire Within Crisis Services. I am also on Facebook with my business page. I'm very active on Instagram. I answer all of my DMs myself. I'm a one-man show, and I love to have conversations with people. They can go to my website, which is firewithincrisisservices.com, and you can find all of my services, my coaching programs. I am super passionate about helping others to find and speak their truth, to find their courage, to reclaim their identity, any of the pieces of crisis that they have been through, trauma. I do trauma coaching. I do empowerment workshops. I have all kinds of programs, so you can check me out on my website. You can email me through there as well. And yeah, like I said, I love to have conversations. So if anybody wants to chat, follow me and let's have a conversation.
All right, Lynnette, thank you very much for sharing that. And once again, thank you very much for joining us on the show today. It was indeed a necessary conversation, and I am very, very excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you very much. It was an honor to be here and to share this with your audience.